Okay. Most of you probably saw my buddy Tony's video the other day. He talked about some news stories, and then he talked about some people in the theater arriving late. And I want to clear some stuff up. So, some people who watched Tony's video there said, well, you know what, they were late one time, no big deal. No. The people that he pointed out, it was the third show in a row, and the third time they were late walking up to the front of the theater in, I think the earliest they showed up was 20 minutes late. The earliest they show up. And I'm saying, okay, well, you had a dinner, your dinner ran longer than normal. Yeah, but there's another show. Another show starts in an hour. You could go to that show. So you didn't have to walk to the front. And we happened to run into some singers and dancers in having lunch and got to talking with them. And we asked them, we said, hey, did that disturb you, when people are walking around the front like that in like almost the end of the show when you're revving up to do your number? And they said, normally it doesn't bother us, but for some reason that one stood out. And I said, well, chances are the reason it stood out is because the front row of this theater has remained open. You're not allowed to sit in the front seats because of the restrictions. So they were right up against the stage walking in front of everybody in the light. And that's when you're up on stage and you have those lights in your eyes, you don't get to see very far out into the audience. So basically they were people walking by while you're trying to do the performance. And it did, they remembered that, and one of them did say, yeah, you know what, I was kind of thrown off a little bit by that. Now they're professional, they got through it, they kept singing, we never noticed anything, but it just, to me, it's rude. These people are putting on a number, and not only is it rude for the performers, it's rude for the people that you keep walking by and cutting in front who were there on time to see the show. Now, if you're a couple minutes late once in a while and you excuse me, sit in the back and they're just warming up, that's one thing. But once you're 15, 20, 30 minutes late for a show that's 45 minutes long, now you're being rude. It's one thing also to stand in the back. It's one thing to find a seat in the back on the edge or something like that. But to walk, and some folks, God bless them, walk at about a half a mile an hour down those stairs. I watched one person walk in, and they went from the back to the front, from one side of the theater all the way to the other at about a half a mile an hour. They finished the entire number that they were singing by the time that person walked down. And that person was now blocking every single person in the aisle as they walked down. And then every single person in the front rows as they wandered back to the other side of the theater. But it doesn't matter, because apparently it was all about them. And that, it drives me a little nuts. It drives me a little nuts because I'm always thinking of the performers. I don't want to disturb somebody. Many theaters now will have ushers that'll stop people at the top of the stairs, wait for a break in the number, and then go down. Cruise ships can't do that. They can't have a whole bunch of employees just standing there to stop people from walking down who are coming in late to the theater. And then if you try and stop them and then they raise a fuss, now you're disturbing everybody in the back. Now, and I have been on cruise ships where they will just close the door and say, that's it. Nobody else is in after a certain time. And I think maybe, just maybe, give them 5 minutes tops, and show starts 7:30, 7:35, close those doors, and have people standing at the door saying, sorry, you'll have to catch the next performance, or sorry, you're too late. The show's already going on. People would start showing up on time after that. And it's really fun because I'm always there an hour. If I know it's a popular show, I'm there and I want a good seat, I'm there an hour early. If it's a semi-popular show, I know there's not going to be a huge crowd there right away, I'll be there a half hour early to get a seat where I want to sit. But some people just insist, well, my seat's going to be up front and I'm just going to walk down to the front in the middle of the show. It doesn't matter if what I'm doing. And the great part is when there's two of them and they have a nice conversation down the aisle as they're walking during the performance. Isn't that fun as well? And, a lot of people get a kick, like if you see a comedian or a performer, and, there'll be two numbers into their show. Like tonight, we watched a gentleman, Travis, who was singing Frankie Valli songs at the time. He was 2 songs into his number, and a lady came down and sat right in the front row, in seats, by the way, that she wasn't allowed to sit in. They were blocked off, saying, do not sit here. Sat there anyway. And he goes and he says, should we start the show over? And pointing right at that person. I mean, they notice this. Comedians notice this. A singer can't really do much other than what he did to say, hey, you know what? Maybe you should have showed up on time, maybe. But, a comedian can roast you. But I've seen people get roasted and they just think, ha, 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 I'm funny. It's not funny to the rest of us. To me, it's just rude. I guess I'm just such a person who enjoys entertainers so much. I appreciate what they do and the distractions that they have to work through and things like that, that I try my best to be that good audience member. My dad raised me to go to the theater when I was younger. I'm not a talker in the theater. I don't talk to the person beside me. I don't carry on a conversation while things are going on. And I'm the same way from movie theaters to Broadway theaters. And if I ever talk to somebody, it's at a whisper like this. It's not carrying on a conversation like this while a singer's 10 feet away trying to do their number. And I've seen that a lot on this ship. Did not see it on the Princess ship. On this ship, I'm seeing more and more. I don't understand why. It's the same type of audience. But yeah, that's my rant. That's my rant today. Why am I ranting? Because it just annoyed me. But man, people, it's not hard to show up. It's not hard. And if you show up late, it's okay. But sit in the back. Don't disturb everybody else in the theater because you couldn't be bothered to show up on time.